Chris Christie said something revealing this week while speaking to the Economic Club of Chicago. The past 6 weeks, he said, haven't been the most enjoyable of my life. That's un-Christie-like understatement, isn't it? But his detractors continue to pound away at him. This week's New Republic, there's this story headlined, Chris Christie's entire career reeks. And there's a mocked-up portrayal of him as a political version of Tony Soprano. Even Sarah Palin turned on him, saying she doesn't believe his whole story on Bridgegate. And you can't turn on MSNBC without hearing about the latest in his scandals. We still don't know whether he survives to regain his status as a presidential frontrunner a year or two from now, but we do know one thing. There's a new kid in town. By all appearances, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky is muscling in on what used to be Christie's territory. This week, amid his constant reminders about Monica Lewinsky, Paul sued President Obama over the NSA's collection of phone records. Of course, the two would-be candidates are very different. But the question is this: if Chris Christie goes down over Bridgegate, is Rand Paul the heir apparent? CNN's newest political commentator and show host, Michael Smerconish, has covered both men closely, and he joins me now from Philadelphia. First, Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brian.
Tell me about the story that you wrote about Chris Christie for the cover of Philadelphia Magazine last July. I gather he didn't quite like the story.
Well, I don't put myself in the category of detractors. Those that you mentioned are now coming out of the woodwork. Over a period of years, I've hosted him on my radio program on several occasions and had written several columns about him. And overwhelmingly, I think I treated him well. But when Philadelphia Magazine came to me and said, we want you to write a cover story for last July's issue and put the context in perspective. He's then running for general election against Barbara Buono, and he wants to win big. This is a magazine.
Yeah, and your magazine is going to be all over South Jersey, right?
Exactly. So you would think this would be a layup, but he decided he didn't want to cooperate with the interview. I nevertheless wrote the piece. I think that the piece was fair. It never would have occurred to me that his rationale for not cooperating with the piece might have been something I'd written about him previously, but for the GW Bridge closing and these mayors coming out and saying, I think I was a victim of reprisal.
And of course, now this is what so many people are doing, right? Just like you. They're going back in time, thinking back and re-examining Chris Christie, wondering if he has this reputation as a bully. What was the column you wrote that you think may have turned him against you? What wasn't the title, Can You Imagine How Christie's Son Feels? What was it about?
Brian, we have 4 children. 3 of them are sons. And one particular day, I picked up my sons at school and I was driving my pickup truck. And I remember well when they got in the car, they sort of slunk down in the seat and they said, Dad, how many pickup trucks do you see in the lot? Don't ever pick us up in the pickup truck. Pick us up in a car like everybody else has. And, their beef was that I had embarrassed them. You'll remember the controversy over when Governor Christie used a helicopter to go to his son's baseball game. And there was a huge kerfuffle about how much money could this have cost. I wrote a column and I said, I'm sure that the biggest problem the governor has isn't the money, isn't the criticism, it's probably his son. Because if his son is like my son's, he probably got to work out at the dinner table over the embarrassment factor. That was the gist of the column. And to me, it's pretty innocuous. But I have to say, when I went back with my producer and reconstructed our dealings, it became clear that never again did he come back to the radio show, and the tone and tenor of the emails back and forth, it changed for the worse.
It sounds like an example of a pretty prickly politician, and we've heard a lot of examples of this since these scandals started to break. Do you conclude, as other people seem to be concluding, that he is a guy that's a bit of a bully and a guy who tries to keep score, so to speak?
I think that's the right expression. He strikes me as a guy who's keeping score. I suspect that I became dead to Chris Christie and to his office when I wrote the column about the helicopter. I'd also be curious to know, did he ever read the column or just the headline? Was it explained to him? But yes, I came to the conclusion that because I went there, never again was I going to get access.
So we've gone through for weeks now with these scandals and with people like you reassessing their relationship with Chris Christie, their past experiences with him. Do you think there's an opening being created here for someone like Rand Paul, who's been getting so much press lately for a variety of reasons?
No, I don't see it. I think there's an opening for someone, but I don't think it's for Rand Paul. The attraction for Chris Christie, to me, has always been that I thought he was the best person who could center the Republican Party. And I would like to see the Republican Party center itself. I think it would be best for the party. I also think that it would be good for the nation. I also thought that Chris Christie was a person who sort of stood in opposition to the Marco Rubio, to the Ted Cruz, to the Rick Santorum, to the Mike Huckabee, and maybe even to the Rand Paul faction. It's hard to place Rand Paul in the GOP in terms of where he fits ideologically, but I don't see him attracting the same type of traditionalist GOP person that I think Christie was going to attract. I think a John Kasich benefits. I think a Paul Ryan benefits, but I don't think that it's Rand Paul, who benefits from Christie having taken a tumble.
Do you sense the press is trying to search for some new person to focus on, be it Rand Paul or someone else?
Well, you know, I know how you love to focus on the media, so here's my prediction. I think that the media loves to build someone like Christie up. I mean, frankly, in retrospect now, it's clear that he never received a close analysis during that last campaign. Now he's been torn down, and my hunch is what comes next is he gets built back up again, especially if all these subpoenas generate nothing that contradicts what he had to say, and then that roller coaster ride will continue. I'm not writing this guy off yet.
That's really interesting. This is a cycle, and this cycle will just continue. And maybe it's a question of where on that roller coaster we are 18 months from now.
He's great copy. I mean, you know, look at Christie in comparison to the other personalities that we're discussing. Christie's the best copy among them. And you know, his verbose nature is both his greatest asset and his chief liability, which, by the way, is what I concluded in that.
I think Rand Paul filing a lawsuit against the president makes for some pretty good copy, too, this week.
It does, but, you know, I always was entertained by his father. I always thought that his father made sense, particularly on the foreign policy issues. I never could quite wrap my head around some of the domestic views that he had. But I'm not, Brian, yet sure whether Rand Paul has the ability to do what Dad never did, which was to go mainstream, to rather than be a passing fancy among college students and some real hardcore libertarian types, to have a more broad-based appeal. And thus far, I don't see that happening with Rand Paul.
What a wide variety of people to talk about in the months and years to come, and you'll be doing it on your new show here on CNN. Michael, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Brian.